Welcome back to Dan Recaps. Today I'm going to explain the movie The Open House that was released in the year 2018. At the start of the movie, a teenage boy named Logan can be seen running as he hopes to one day participate in the Olympics. His father Ryan admires his speed and predicts he will succeed in becoming an Olympian. After returning home, Ryan tells Logan's mother, Naomi, about his performance, who also appreciates his hard work. Later, Logan hears his parents having an argument about their work, but they change the subject as soon as they see him coming. Ryan then asks Logan to come with him to buy groceries. At the store, Ryan picks up the stuff while Logan waits in the car. Logan watches him coming back, but out of nowhere, he gets hit by a car and dies right there in front of him. Logan can't believe the sudden death of his father and finds it hard to accept, but his mother tries to comfort him. After learning that Naomi cannot meet their expenses on her own, her sister Allison offers to let them stay at her mountain home until it sells, but tells her they need to spend the day away from the house whenever there's an open house. Naomi's a bit hesitant and worries Logan won't like the change, but since they have no other choice, they decide to accept the offer and move to the secluded house. On their way, as Naomi is so upset by the situation, she barely manages to avoid a person who comes right in front of the car. Soon after, the person disappears. They continue the journey and stop by a store to pick up some supplies, where they meet an old woman who introduces herself as Martha. She tells them that she lives in the same neighborhood as their new house. Surprisingly, she already knows their names, but seeing their confusion, she reveals that Naomi's sister, Allison, told her about them already and sent their picture, which is why she'd recognize them. She further says she also lost her husband and understands her sorrow. Logan gets upset by the conversation and immediately leaves with Naomi. They finally arrive at the house and are surprised to see the property is massive. Just as they enter the house, the phone rings. Naomi answers it to find it's Martha, who asks whether or not they reach safely. Logan starts looking around the house as Naomi is busy on the call. Later, he looks at pictures of his father while missing him, but Naomi interrupts his thoughts to inform him about the first open house the next morning and advises him to wake up early so they can leave before the visitors arrive. That night, Logan wakes up to a strange noise and finds a car in the driveway. When he goes outside to check it out, he finds Martha behaving strangely and seems to be confused. She tells Logan to get off her property, but leaves before he can ask anything else. He returns to check on his mother and finds pictures of his father under her pillow. He realizes she misses him as well, but doesn't say anything about it. After a few days, he is woken up by the agent who informs him to leave the house and not come back until after 5 p.m. After they leave, the realtor shows the house to many potential buyers, while a mysterious person also attends the open house. After leaving the house, Logan and Naomi go to a restaurant where Logan tells her about seeing Martha last night and that she was acting strangely, but Naomi doesn't seem to take it seriously. While talking, Naomi expresses her wish to take up photography again, and Logan talks about his dream of going to the Olympics. Naomi encourages him, saying he will one day achieve his goal. After lunch, they go out to a store where they meet Chris, who talks to Naomi, but since Logan thinks he's flirting with his mother, he doesn't like him. Naomi apologizes for Logan's behavior before leaving and scolds her son. When they get back to the house, Logan is surprised to see the agent is still there. He doesn't like the idea of the open house as anyone can come and freely roam around. He becomes suspicious and checks the whole property, but when he doesn't find anything, he begins to settle down. Logan and Naomi watch a movie at night, but after she goes to bed, Logan again hears noises, but doesn't find anything. These strange events continue. The phone rings, but there's no one there. The noises continue, and many other things, including the disappearance of Logan's phone. While taking a shower, Naomi calls Logan from the bathroom and informs him about the sudden cold water from the tap. She thinks something has happened to the water heater, so she goes to the basement to check on it. When Naomi turns on the heater, the basement door slams shut. She thinks it must be Logan and asks him about it, but he denies it was him, saying he didn't go down to the basement. One day, after coming back from a morning stroll, Naomi and Logan find Chris looking inside the house through the door. Logan goes inside the house without talking to him, while Naomi apologizes once again. She then invites him in, as he says he missed the open house but would like to take a look inside. Later that night, Logan wakes up after having a dream about his father's accident and gets upset with Naomi after learning she invited Chris. The next morning, Naomi picks up her camera from her box of stuff and starts taking photos again. That night, Martha comes over again, and while talking to Naomi, she invites her over and says her husband would love to meet her and Logan. However, Naomi gets confused as Martha told them earlier about her husband's death. When she asks Martha about it, she denies saying anything like that and that her husband is still alive. The next morning, Martha meets Logan again and offers to walk him home. As they talk, Logan tells her he wants to go back to his old home, but Martha says they won't be leaving anytime soon as the houses in this area take some time to sell. Naomi comes over to pick Logan up, and Martha again mysteriously talks about her husband's death before leaving. Soon after, a plumber arrives at the house to check on the water heater. As he goes to the basement to check it out, Naomi finds a crumpled picture of her family in the trash. In the meantime, the plumber informs her what was wrong with the heater and then reveals Martha's husband is actually dead. Naomi mentions how Martha said her husband is alive, and the plumber further explains that Martha is suffering from Alzheimer's, so she tells different things to different people. The plumber then gives her Logan's phone, saying he found it by the water heater. Upon seeing the picture in the trash and finding Logan's phone, she believes he's been messing with her the whole time because he's upset with her for moving them here. An argument gets heated, and he yells at her for bringing him to this isolated place. He thinks the situation would be different if his father was alive, but Naomi disagrees, saying his father is the reason for their miserable state, as he was an irresponsible person who did not leave them with anything. Logan doesn't believe her and says it would have been better if she died in the place of his father. Naomi leaves the room crying. At night, Logan sees his father in his dreams again, but his mother wakes him up because the open house is about to begin and they have to leave the house on time. Later, Naomi goes to pick up her photos and meets Chris, who gives her his number and asks her to call him if they need any help. Not long after, Naomi receives a text informing her someone broke into their house. When they return home, they find someone has indeed broken into the house and set the table for a candlelight dinner. Upon Logan's suggestion, they call the cops and ask them to search around the house. The officers inform them that some kids might have snuck in and did this to scare them away. Logan also informs the officer about the strange phone calls and missing items, but they don't take him seriously. Logan becomes worried about the situation and asks Naomi to leave the house, but as she can't afford another place, she insists they stay. Later, Logan finds Chris's phone number in Naomi's room and calls him to come spend the night with them in case anything happens. He informs Chris about the strange events of the house and says he thinks someone is messing with them. Logan thanks him for coming over and apologizes for his rude behavior earlier. Before going to bed, Logan goes to the living room to check in on Chris, but can't find him. He searches around the house and finds his dead body in the car. Out of nowhere, someone attacks him from behind, leaving him unconscious. The person then pours water on him in the freezing cold and goes after Naomi. Naomi wakes up and is terrified to find pictures of her and Logan sleeping in their beds. She then calls out for Logan, but is attacked by the same person. When she wakes up again, she finds herself tied to a chair as the intruder begins to torture her, breaking all her fingers. Meanwhile, Logan wakes up and goes inside the house to find Naomi in a miserable condition. He unties her and informs her about Chris's death, and she apologizes and said she should have listened to him and left the house. Logan says he would take her out of the house and tries to locate the phone to call the police, but the phone doesn't work. Soon, he finds out that their phone SIM cards have been removed. He then hears Naomi screaming and runs back to the room to help her, but she's already gone. Logan searches for her, but accidentally stabs her, mistaking her for the intruder. Before falling to the ground, Naomi tells him to run and save himself, but the attacker easily catches him and forcibly removes his contact lenses, leaving him unable to see clearly. Logan runs and hides in the woods. He manages to survive in the extreme cold until morning. Then he reaches a stream and drinks water from it. But moments later, the intruder attacks him as he screams and struggles for his life, but is strangled to death. In the end, Logan's body can be seen by the stream as the attacker proceeds to the next open house in search of their next victim. That was all for the video. Subscribe for more content like this and leave a like to help the channel out. Also, leave a comment down below if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Take care.